to get settled here. A lot of people are socializing. I see the shop built up very nicely. My name is Caviano. I'm the moderator of this panel, which is called the Past, Present, and Future of Dance Music. It's not limited to dance music, but that's our forte. I want to do a quick introduction here, have actually people give a small, if you will, bio of their situation and their history, starting at my far left. Mr. Brad LeBeau, who's been in the business how many years? Yes. Yes.
I've been in the business for a couple of weeks.
Right.
He's an intern.
I am trying to make a commitment to the promotion business. I don't want to jump into anything. My company is 33 years old this past July.
Yeah.
And, thank you. Very grateful. These people on this panel were my idols when I was 18 or 19 years old. I wanted to be like each of them. I'm not kidding. I admired them. I had no plan on being in this business. The business found me, and I am incredibly grateful to be amongst my peers, who have accepted me and who I learn from on a daily basis. I'll tell you more about it as the panel goes on. But my first record was Born to Be Alive in 1970. And our clients today are Adele, Beyonce, Coldplay, people like that. And I'll talk to you later about the film.
Talk about the first DJ job here in New York, Brad.
Say again?
The first DJ job.
Oh yeah, right. I was a DJ. Whoops.
Yes.
Yeah, right. I forgot about that. So yeah, I mean, really quickly, I ended up just in a nutshell. I was in college. I went to college in Boston, where I met Joey Carvello. I was 19. He was a little older, and a lot taller.
Still is.
A lot taller, and he is, and still is. And Cosmo Wyatt, for those people who know Cosmo Wyatt. Jackie McCloy gave me my first DJ job at it was Uncle Sam's in Boston, and Cosmo heard me and he hired me to work at Kicks in Boston. Remember that joke, Kicks? One day, in walks Joe Carvello and John Morando. They introduced themselves, and I felt like I was in the presence of greatness. I became familiar to the record business because I had asked my father when I was in college. He would give me a larger allowance. He was giving me $25 a week in 1975. And he said, no. He said, I'm paying for your education. And Grandpa just gave you a used car. And if you want more money, then go get a job. And I was a full-time student, so he said, get a job at night and get a job on the weekends, And I used to go to dancing at these clubs in Boston, Lansdowne, and Whimsy's, and Celebration, and I would watch the guys, and sometimes there were some girls who did this thing with the records. I didn't even know what that was. I was too intimidated to talk to any of them, but I would watch them, and I thought maybe I could do that. So it took me a year to learn how to do that, and then Cosmo Wyatt gave me a shot in Boston, and then I went from Boston to New York, where I'm from, and I DJ'd at a club called Magique, which is now Bed Bath & Beyond. It is.
Great talk.
It is. I used to play right by the towels on the top escalator. But when I played there, just probably too much information, but when I played there, then these record people, these promotion people, had my number. They found my telephone number. They would call me at home. They would say, "Can you put me on the list? We're going to bring you records." And I would say, "Do I have to pay for the records? How does it work?" They say, "No, we bring them to you, and you listen to them, and if you like them, you play them." I think they just wanted to be on the guest list, But anyway, so I met some record people, and they would sort of promote music to me and try to wind me up about music, and some were a lot better than others. The people, not the records. And I was at Magique for about a year, and then Jelly Bean called, and Jelly Bean said he's leaving Xenon. Am I interested in auditioning on the Wednesday and Saturday night? I said definitely. I auditioned, I got the job, and then my life started to change. And, you know, anyways, it's a long, drawn-out story. But at the end of the day, I just loved records. I still call them records. I still call them disco records. They're really current, but they're disco records to me. They're played in a discotheque, right? They're disco records, right? And so I started my own promotion company in 1983. I had no plan. I don't have any plan today. I really don't. No, I don't have any master plan. People find me. I listen to music. I'm fortunate to remix and market the records I like, and the rest of it takes care of itself. But I just want to say in closing that when I tell you that the people on this panel are my idols, they were my fucking idols. You know, I wanted to promote records like Ray, and I wanted to be like Joey. I wanted to write like Vince. I was like 18. I didn't know fuck about fuck. You know, and I think to a large extent, I still don't know fuck about fuck. And I'm just so grateful to be in this business. That, you know, to be hired to get people excited about things that I'm excited about. Where do you get this kind of job? You know, I mean, this is not like laying track at Amtrak in the wintertime. You know, so, you know, that's enough. I probably won't say anything else for the next 45 minutes. But nice to meet you, and bye.
That just took 45 fucking minutes.
Thanks, anyway.
Okay, next up here is somebody that I have obviously a lot of respect for. We work together. He'll give his narrative, but please give a warm welcome for Vince Aletti.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you very much. You want me to give a quick rundown?
Yeah, in the beginning there was a disco record, and there was record world.
I mean, if anybody knows me, it's because I wrote for Record World for 4 years, weekly, a column called Disco Files. That was really, I wrote for the DJs. The reason I did it was because I was excited about the music. Had been writing for Rolling Stone and Village Voice and a lot of other music magazines, and really got excited about disco because I started going out to clubs. And I was one of the few people writing about music at that time who really was interested in this new sound. So I started at Record World writing about everything that came out, everything that did that from 1974 to 1978, when Mr. Caviano hired me at his RFC record label, and I worked there for 2 years as the head of A&R. When that was over, I kind of took a year off, and then one of my most interesting jobs in transition was the R&B and disco buyer at the Tower Records that opened on 4th Street. My first sort of in the industry job. That lasted for 2 years of actual work. But was really fascinating for me to really know what people bought, what and why, and also try to influence that. And then I went back to writing, mostly at the Village Voice. Now I write for the New Yorker about photography.
Can you just fill in one part there,
Yes.
in terms of your association, for lack of a better word, with going to the law and the 10th floor, which we love, Ray Yates, right?
Well,
And David and Judy and the formation of Mark Riley and those people.
okay, well this is a lot of history.
Right.
But, before I started writing about music, about disco, it was only because I started going out and experiencing it. First at the 10th floor,
Right.
which was a small private club in totally anonymous office building that was really an influential and short-lived space.
Ray Yates.
I don't even remember the name of the
Yeah,
DJ,
Ray
sorry.
Yates was the DJ.
and then going to the L.O.V, where I met Judy Weinstein, and also really came to understand the whole way disco worked as an evening, a whole an experience, not just a song. So and I don't think I would have started writing about it had I not had those experiences. Does that answer your question?
Yep. You were there. So now let's segue over here to Mr. Joey Carvello. I don't know where to begin or end, but the beginning was Boston and DJing, etc. The only thing I would say is that this gentleman, I remember the story very quickly, not to tell tales out of school, that there was a choice between two labels that he was going to get his first record company job. And I'm glad to say that Joey picked working with me as my East Coast representative at Warner RFC. Joey?
Thank you, Ray. This is also exciting for me to be on this panel really quick. When who I am, what I've done, what two different things. I'm a first generation disco DJ. I play vinyl only to this day. Vinyl then, vinyl now, vinyl forever. That's who I am. It's the music and the lifestyle that really, in those days, really defined me. We lived in a little box, being little disco DJs, until you get a call from New York. The first call I got from New York was from Vince Aletti, record world. He asked me, told me who he was, and he said, "I like your playlist." It's a playlist. And I gave him my playlist, and we talked music, and he was the first guy outside of New York, outside of Boston, who showed me that I had impact. Shit, they knew about me in New York City. New York City, god damn. They knew about me there. That was a big deal for me. So this was one of the first guys. This guy taught me, he was my mentor as a promotion man. I always wanted to be, said, if I'm going to do promotion, I want to be like Ray Caviano. DJ-wise, my mentor was John Magliano. But what I'm here, what I do, is I get dance records played at radio. That's what I do. That's what I want to do, especially with this renaissance. There's a renaissance going on right now, guys. The house, new house, new disco, whatever you want to call it, it's coming. It's on its way. You listen to BPM, you're starting to hear a little bit more. The EDM guys, they don't want to let go, like we didn't want to let go. You know, there'll always be some, but the substance of the song is what it's all about. And we've always made great songs. There's a bunch of them out there right now. They will start to surface. I mentioned one earlier, Doug Lazy, Church Clap. God damn, you gotta listen to that record. Lorenzo Spano, you know. Don Tallman. Have you guys checked out the Don Tallman Teardrops? Come on, man. We do a nice edit on that. We could have a brother that Show Me Loving. If you know me, I know a little bit about that record. You know, I'm here to try and preach to you guys one thing. You make, and that's listening to me, I'm here for you. Producers, writers, small label people who are here today, they're making these fantastic records. You gotta think a little bit bigger. You gotta leave some money on the back end, just in case a guy like me, or a guy like Brad LeBeau, or a guy like Carrie Vance, or whoever should call you up and say, I really like your record. Now, when one of these guys, myself included, calls you up and says that, they know what to do with it, and they're not going to call and blow smoke up your ass to get your pocket. There are guys that will do that, but the three guys I mentioned, they're not going to do that. There's a passion there. Leave some money aside, so those of us who can help you and advance this music and keep it moving and have that renaissance. It's like the early 70s all over again. The country was a mess. 71, 72, 73, the world was a mess. New York was ready to go into the fucking toilet. Everything was fucking horrible. The music was horrible too, and disco came around and changed everything. We need an uplifting sound, and I believe right now you're going to start to get that. You know, socially we're set up for this renaissance of old school, just shenanigans, and the music to reflect it. We always have great songs, and I believe that it's all about the songs. EDM never deleted the songs. Disco always did. I think it will again, as R&B did. And that's what we're into. So if you're a producer, put some money on the back end. If you know somebody who's an artist, you know, we're going to do this ourselves. The majors aren't going to do this for us. I've already had a couple of experiences where they still fucking hate us out there. Trust me when I tell you. They wish we would go away. There's no doubt about it. We have to do it ourselves. It's going to become from an independent, small label, unsigned artist. You know? We can do this. It's there. So put some money in the back end. Come on, let's go. Give me a call. You know, if I like it, I'll help you out. It's always want the money with me. I'll get you on the back end. Cost you a lot more, but I'll get you.
That's the Joe Carvello cultivation.
That's it for
theory.
me. I'm done now.
Cultivation theory. So the past, the present, and the future, just to put things in their perspective, so that we're not stuck in the past, but our roots are the foundation of dance music / disco, however you want to slice it. Okay. When you look at the original songs that were, Hughes Corporation, Van McCoy, Silver Convention, Brass Construction, etc., that started the foundation of Ecstasy, Passion, and Pain. The list is endless. Date with the Rain, etc.
Dreaming a dream.
Dreaming a Dream. Now those were songs, and those were the fundamental foundation of how dance music was starting. Keeping in mind that we were, when I was at the 10th floor, we were dancing to a lot of Motown records and the OJs, and I Love Music, right? And things like that. Then we had Devil's Gun and Soul Makusa and all the onslaught of the trance, and what Atlantic did as a big leader in early days. Salsoul came in with Lolita and 10%, etc. So now that's our foundation. Now we're in the present right now, and it's kind of muddled waters. We have a little EDM, or when we say a little, that's what radio is playing, and Greg maybe can talk more about that, maybe Joe, where right now, Sirius and BPM and these, they're stuck in the EDM world of Calvin Harris and Nick Jonas, etc. Okay, but everything is very fragmented right now musically. Okay, when we were doing it, everybody played Gloria Gaynor. Everybody played T-Connection. Everybody played Peter Brown. Everybody played Disco Inferno. And it crossed over to the radio. Notice how many, there was a resentment for that. Now, here we are in this world of R&B, AC is over here, EDM is over here. House is a whole other discussion, which is great that we love people who love house, but it's very underground. There's a million house records. They're not really selling dramatically. You can't get them arrested on the radio with them. So that's where we are right now, and there's all these slots and all this fragmentation. Nobody can agree on the same record. Like, everybody played Love in C minor. Even Uptown played it. All right? Everybody played Kraftwerk. And everybody played Donna. Okay? And then that synergy effect got us to the radio, to the record pools, to retail, to word of mouth. Now, Brad calls DJs, and you got to look at the format of who's going to play this. You can't, who's going to. Right now, for where I'm at, R&B wise, that's where my chips are right now. When in doubt, I'll go to black music and do that for a moment, just like the way this all started, as the case may be. But now, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe Brad can talk about it, because to this day, he's still doing it and deals with the jocks in the marketplace. Okay? I hear rumblings about this merger between EDM and house. Is that a reality, Brad, as you see it?
No.
Geronimo and Sirius says it might be.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We don't have to vilify EDM. EDM is fine. We don't have to applaud disco. It's fine. The fact of the matter is, what was then is then, and what is now is now. What these formats have in common is that these are records that are played in discotheques, and if we're fortunate, they'll be played on radio. It's the interesting thing about radio, top 40 radio in the United States. Top 40 radio in the United States, notwithstanding disco in the late 70s, has never endorsed our format. But the only way we've really gotten into the station is through the back door. Mixture radio programming, you get 1 or 2 records a year that sort of cross over. But as a practical matter, only recently has Top 40 taken a look at this. Now, throughout Europe and the rest of the world, dance music is Top 40. And it's independent of the language. English is everybody's primary language now. Even Spanish radio plays more English records now than ever before, because the 18 to 24-year-old Spanish demo doesn't speak Spanish. Their parents speak Spanish, their grandparents only speak Spanish, but Hispanic kids speak English. So, here's the thing. When a record company makes a commitment to these kinds of records, you'll find that usually they're tracks with top-line vocals. Tiesto, for example, was huge around the world for 20 years. And he tried desperately to make it in the United States, and he couldn't. Because Europe had a certain sound and America wasn't interested. But the moment Universal Records signed Tiesto, and they put a top-line vocal, Tiesto crossed top 40. So what does that tell you? It tells you that at the end of the day, it's about the melody and the lyric, and it's about the track. In the 70s, it was disco. Then it was new wave. Then it was freestyle. Then it was house. Then it was EDM. We call it EDM because that's what the kids want to hear. But it's just a track. The records that cross are the records that have lyrics. That's right. Their songs, their melody and lyric, and that's it. It's not an EDM thing. It's not a house thing necessarily. The fact of the matter is, a hit is an undeniable hit.
But Brad, let me play devil's advocate there. Okay, it's a song, and yes, you put a vocal on it, it makes it more digestible and accessible and melodic. Okay, but where's the soul in the music? All our records, and then maybe Vince can talk about this too. The elements of a lot of these records that we had back in the day that crossed had an element of melody and soul. Have we lost through EDM the soul of the music? Is Calvin Harris soulful?
Right.
Just like we just said, you have to listen to the Don Tallman. No, it's about the song. And if you write the right song and you have the right vocalist, like Robin has Show Me Love, that was just the planets aligned right the fuck up with that one. We're set up for that. Again, I'm fucking telling you, this is what I do for a living. That's all I do. You guys know me as a DJ. I mean, I broke Little John, Pitbull, Yin Yang, Mark Anthony in '91. I had 21 #1 fucking records in Atlantic. I brought Big Big to Atlantic. I was Robin S. I put Little Louie, the Master at Work. I'm the third member. I put that girl together. I'm telling you, my experience, my brain tells me it's coming again. I've been talking to Ray about this for 3 years, and Brad. It's not like I came up with this last fucking night. It's right there. I'm telling you. So I want your enthusiasm. We gotta find the right record to work together. Just one breaks through. All it takes is one. And it'll just go, boom. Trust me.
Ray talked about the word soul, and the fact is soul in Ray's world may be R&B, but soul is just records that hit your soul. It's not a black thing or a white thing or a gay thing or a straight thing or a 70s or an 80s or a 90s thing. When you hear a record, you love that record. You don't teach a class on the record. Why do you like it? You like it because you like it. You sit down, you order a piece of food. Why do you like it? You like it because you like it. So, you know, and Joey talks about the John Tolman record. I don't know if you've heard the John Tolman record.
It's a great fucking song. It's a great song.
I'm the executive producer of the John Tolman record.
There's nothing to do with it.
And the thing with the John Tolman, and I'm only saying it because Joey mentioned the record, and I think it's a wonderful record. And it's a record that I put together because I love the original Womack and Womack record from the 80s. Dawn is one of the best vocalists of any format that I've ever heard. And Eric Copper is one of the best
That's too great. The Stonebridge mix is really good too. Depending what your taste is, he's got it covered.
And what
Trust
type
me.
of soul you're looking for.
Listen,
Exactly.
and
Whatever floats your boat.
Eric Copper, in my opinion, is one of the best dance pop producers.
He is.
And he's a composer. He's lyrically trained. So we put the package together. It seems to be doing well. We're very excited about it. But the point is, that speaks to some of my musical preferences. But it's no more soulful to me than Calvin Harris is to someone who's 22 years old. And this is an important thing about records that are crossing over to top 40 now. Back in the day, dance artists that cross pop would go out and perform.
Yeah.
And Donna would perform, she'd do clubs, and Ray Zach would perform, they'd do clubs. Calvin Harris doesn't do clubs, he does festivals.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing, except that it's the same age demographic, but it's a larger venue.
Right.
You know, clubs that Joey used to play in would be 500 or 1,000, or if it's Lansdowne, 1,000, 2,000. Now, the Calvin Harrises, the Clygos, the Dylan Francises, you says, they played at 50 or 100,000. It's the same thing. That when I was 19, I liked the records I liked. Reagan called them soul. And if you talk to somebody who's 20 years old or 22, that's their version of soul. That's it. It's not intellectual. It's not about teaching a class on it. It's very simple. You like the fucking record, you play the fucking record. You don't like the record, you play something else.
Well,
just like that.
Listen, the thing is this. We can get caught up in the whole definition of what soul is. It's like Bill Clinton saying it depends on what the definition of is. Here's what I'm saying, right? And to me, there's a distinct difference when you look at we're talking about past, present, and future here. The dynamics are different when you're playing in a festival with technology and half of the audience is on Molly versus in the sense of the chemistry that existed in the loft and in the garage. Now,
Didn't they do drugs there?
well, they did drugs there, but the technology is definitely different. So, like it's like art. The definition of soul to a 20-year-old that's looking at Calvin Harris, that's their definition of soul. But objectively speaking, we know what soul music is, the history of soul music. And when you really look at it, are we getting back to a more, because a lot of the criticism, not to be vilified EDM, and the fact is that a lot of people are saying it's at a curve right now, and it remains to be seen what happens. Joe feels it is going to become more melodic, dare I say soulful, or whatever. But Vincent, would you say that the music today, generally speaking, lacks this generic soul element, even though it's a very subjective statement?
But, you know, it's hard for me to make a judgment about this, about
Generally
today,
speaking, yeah.
because I don't listen to the radio. I don't even know there was such a thing as top 40 still.
Oh, right.
There is. I still actually go out and buy CDs.
Wow. Wow.
So,
What was the last CD you bought? With inquiring minds want to know.
De La Soul.
Wow.
And
with the word soul in it.
yes. So I mean, I still listen to music on my CD player. So that's really, I'm a little out of touch, I have to say.
Yeah.
And partly because I got the feeling at some point not long ago that there weren't very many songs with lyrics anymore, and in terms of dance music.
Right.
And that's what I was missing. I was listening to Drake and Beyonce.
Right, exactly.
People who do have lyrics and do have
Right.
messages.
Tyrese.
So
Johnny
for
Gill,
me,
New
it's-
Edition.
a message is a lyric and a message is important. And that's still what I listen to.
So the question is, do you think then, in a sense, we're getting a little technical here, maybe we're getting in the weeds, no pun intended, about songs. But when you look at an R&B record right now, generally speaking, whether it's Tyrese or Drake, Enormous, Johnny Gill, New Edition, or whatever, and you pair it up, if you will, listening to an EDM record, there are, even though subjectively a young person may say, oh, I love that, it reaches my soul, what have you. But there is a distinct difference between the melody line and the structure, correct? When you listen to R&B versus what's happening on Z100 or AMP.
Well,
I mean, let's keep it real. They're not going to be playing Tyrese and AMP tomorrow, are they?
I think there's definitely a problem. I don't want to say we'll stop getting in fucking trouble.
Get in trouble over
It's just that here's what's happened with R&B music. The crossover format. Let me talk about that. The crossover format. What happened was the crossover format. The record companies saw a more active sales base, and they got noticed more quickly, and it went from crossover to top 40 much more quickly. So they started spending more money and putting more promotion campaigns for urban artists, black artists, at crossover at the same time as urban. And when you start to shake it out, crossover is the stronger format. More numbers, a bigger sales base, it's got a bigger online base too. So they started going, and crossover started taking black artists away from the format that they belonged in. And what happened was, it's kind of like R&B radio almost lost its soul. I think it's an A&R issue right now. I think A&R people, the record companies, got to say, look, you know, we rebuilt, you look at people, developers, they come in, they rebuild neighborhoods. Okay, we gotta rebuild the hood. We gotta rebuild R&B radio. We gotta invest money finding new R&B artists that will stay exclusive to the format and keep them there and move them across. I think that's where, and I'm a big, especially 70s soul, I'll take any of you on. I mean, I love that music because I love the lyric, I love the songs, and I'd love to see it come back. But I think that's what one of the problems is, and if we don't have, dance doesn't have that soul base, that's also going to hold us back a little bit. Robert and Show Me Love crossed over. We had crossover in urban, growing. It does, you know, something hits, hits. I don't care what anybody says. Robert and Show Me Love, I'll play that today. It's just as effective today as it was 25 years ago. You know, there is definitely, we already said that hits are written, they're not produced. I think that it's time for a change in the sound. I think people want to be uplifted. The songs are going to change. Enough, it's in the same old hip hop and dance lyric going on now. You know, make out with a chick, blow a bottle up her ass, have some truffle butter. Okay, we run out of that, but all of a sudden JT comes with a wonderful song. He talks about disco, and Jason Derulo does, and The Weeknd does. And they're all R&B dance western, all of them. There's a pattern coming, but these artists have jumped over urban format, and that's one of the problems. That they don't spend time to marinate. And I think that's one of the problems that urban has right now.
And Brad, as far as the clubs are concerned, because that's a big focus of promotion, right? What have you? How do you see the distinction, if there is any, between how we promoted to the clubs back in the day, the late 80s, whatever, house, right? At Junior Vasquez's world, the Central Sound Factory, Louis X Hector of the world, and to where we're at today, and the influence of the synergistic effect that the clubs would have to make radio look at a record, i.e. the record that you're working right now, that you produced, Dawn. How influential can the clubs be to catapult Dawn into crossover radio, or any radio?
Clubs don't have nearly the effect at a top 40 or radio format that they did during RFC. They just don't. The times were different. You know, America back then liked country records, and they liked rock and roll records. Rap didn't exist in the 70s. Rock existed in the 70s, and America was country and rock. That's what America stood for. When rap music came in, no one thought it would last. When MTV came in, no one thought it would last. When the internets and the World Wide Web came in, nobody thought it would last. They thought these kids would grow out of this format. The fact is they didn't. So let's talk about the most important thing. What's going on now? What's going on now is social media. And that's very important. So my company, I speak only on behalf of my company. I'm not here to plug my company. I'm not here to look for work. I'm honored to be here. But the fact of the matter is, my company takes promoting music to the consumer as important as promoting music to the industry. You know, years ago, radio was the only format. You put a record on the radio, you get it in through clubs, whether Frankie's at Paradise Garage or, you know, Zanzibar or any of the clubs that were important at the time. If radio is the only format, then people will connect the dots and look at UM radio, they're going to go and answer for it. It's no longer that way now. We have the ability because of this thing that we have, this cell phone thing that we have, all right? We can go direct to consumers with it. We can use our laptop and our desktops. There's no excuse. If you're waiting for anything that you produce or anything that you promote or anything that you market, if you're waiting for someone to find it, don't wait for them to find it. You go to them. Somebody will wait 6 seconds for a page to load online. If it doesn't load online, you go into the next page. When I was a kid, you put a stamp on a letter, you write the letter, you mail it, you wait for a week till somebody writes you back. Right now, if I don't get an email in 7 minutes, somebody doesn't like me. What's the matter? Is something right? So it's not about how it's set up, it's about the end game. And it's very, very important. My job is to connect the dots. I can't wait for Johnny in Ohio, who's 17 years old, to find out about a Dawn Tallman record I'm promoting in New York. It doesn't work. But here's the thing. I need as many people talking about as many of my records as possible. Whether they text it, whether they tweet it, whether they Google it, whether they Facebook it, we have that ability, and it's an immense, it's a tremendous asset to have. We didn't have that in the 70s. In the 70s, you go to a club DJ, You hope he plays it. You hope somebody hears it. You hope he tells somebody, and they tell two people, and they tell two people. Now, a press of a button, it's hundreds of thousands of impressions. And that's what it's
What does that lead to?
Well, what it leads to in this particular marketplace is that's the promotion game. My job is to get as many people excited about something that I promote as possible, right? You know, I'm in the music business. I'm not in the car business. I'm not in the fashion business.
So
But here's the thing,
what's
right?
the end game?
Well, the end game in our business is to sell the music. That's the end game. And the only people, anybody in this room, you know, whether it's Mario or anybody from years ago, we didn't buy records, we got them for free. Warren, you got them for free. Eddie, you got them for free. Ray, Joe, you got them for free. Iris, Eddie, we all got them for free. Curtis, you got them for free, right? What do we know about spending money? We don't spend money. We want to be led into the club fast. We're not waiting. We want drink tickets. We want the records for free. Fuck you. You know? But here's the thing. People say, well, the music business is dead. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not dead. The bar has been raised there. It's no longer mediocrity. It's a hit or it's a miss. There's no in between. And I just want to say one more thing about the future. And this is really, really important to me. I'm going to be 60 years old in January. And people that are in this room tonight, and a lot of them are my friends, and I haven't seen a lot of them for years. And we've lost a lot of them, yeah? The DJs today that are playing these festivals, God bless them, because they've taken what a lot of us started to an entirely new level. When we played records, it wasn't DJ so-and-so, it was Joey Carvello, it was Bob LeBeau. We played these records, right? We played them for $100 a night or $500. You know, I associate Joey with Native New Yorker when he played at Celebration. I associate John Luongo or Whimsies with the originals down to Lovetown, yeah? But these DJs today, they're great because they've taken it, they've turned dance music into a lifestyle. Hip-hop was a lifestyle 25 years ago. Dance music now in the United States is a lifestyle. It's what you drive when you listen to it. It's what you're eating. It's what you're drinking. It's the cell phone you're talking on. But here's the thing. If you ask most of them about the history of dance music, they know nothing about people on this panel. It is essential to educate these people as to why they have the jobs they have. And there's only really, in my opinion, one way to do it. And my company is going to do it. And I will invite anyone after this panel to give me your name and give me your email address. But a documentary has to be put together that features the legends of this business, many of whom are in this room, to talk about what it was like then. And we have to go on record. We have to go on film. We have to talk about it because it dies with us. You understand? It fucking dies with us. If you ask Kygo, if you ask Dylan Francis, and they're lovely men. If you ask Avicii, tell us about what it was like in the 70s. Europe will know more about American dance music than America because Americans don't read. 1 out of every 3 high school students drops out. We don't read. We like pictures, like fucking comic books. So it's essential that whoever's left, whoever's still alive, and a lot of them are in this room, that we sit down and we shoot a documentary. It could be a roundtable discussion about what it was like in the 70s. Yeah? And that, I will make a commitment. My company will make a commitment, and my company will finance that because I owe it to this business. I owe it to this business to do that. And Joey and I talked about that a couple of years ago, and now is the time to do it because the world is infatuated with disco music.
In 77, guys, 40th anniversary, December 15th, 1977. You know what happened? Saturday Night Fever. You got it, babe. What do you think's gonna happen next year, guys? They're gonna come out. They're gonna redo this. They're gonna recolor it. They're gonna mixes are gonna come out. There was just gonna be this. I'm telling you, I'm right about this fucking shit.
I'm
fucking telling you guys.
There's a huge documentary coming out, shot by 3 Italian filmmakers. It's about a very important, very famous club in New York. Our company is involved in it. You'll know about it sooner rather than later. And I believe that the second part of that documentary will be what I'm talking about. And I'll be more than happy to entertain anyone who wants to be involved, who has the history, who wants to tell their story. And I really think it's important.
I mentioned I have a book grant. You're throwing some money around with investing and stuff. Did me say I'll pay for it? Raise your hands. Who heard it? I'll pay for it. Yeah, you did? And I heard about it, so oh, I just want to make sure.
It's about $1.50, Joey.
Who's that? Is he?
Who else?
Real stuff, though.
I'll be on your
We
panel.
gotta-
All
listen,
right,
we
we're about
gotta
to
do it.
close it up. We're heading into the next element here of the night's festivities of awards and some talent. I want to thank everybody for showing up. And I would say this, in order to deal with the past, we must come into the present, and the future is ours, however it's going to be defined, however you look at it. It's still about a good song. Thanks.